Welcome to our channel, True Crime Vault. Here we will dive into most scary and gruesome murder mysteries. Today we bring you a story from India about horror mass ritual and gruesome death of 3 generations. 11 bodies discovered in a single house. A family of 3 generations, from 15 to 80 years old, found dead. What could drive an entire family to such a tragic end? The Burari case shocked a nation and left investigators baffled. On July 1, 2018, Gurcharan Singh made a horrifying discovery in Burari, Delhi. Inside a home, he found 10 bodies hanging from the ceiling, blindfolded and gagged. In another room, an 80-year-old grandmother lay strangled. The victims were all members of the Chundawat family. Known to their neighbors as the Bhatia family, the Chundawats seemed to lead ordinary lives. They ran a grocery and plywood business, appearing sociable and well-adjusted. This stark contrast between their public image and the gruesome scene discovered in their home left the community reeling. As news of the tragedy spread, questions began to mount. How could such a seemingly normal family meet such a horrific end? What dark secrets lay hidden behind their everyday facade? As dawn broke on July 1st, 2018, the quiet neighborhood of Burari was shattered by a horrifying discovery. The police received a frantic call at 7:30 a.m., summoning them to a scene that would perplex even the most seasoned investigators. Upon arrival, they were confronted with a chilling tableau. 11 bodies, 10 hanging from the ceiling in an eerie formation, and 1 elderly woman lying on the floor. The initial response was one of shock and disbelief. How could an entire family, known for their sociable nature and successful business, end up in such a gruesome state? The police immediately cordoned off the area, preserving the crime scene for forensic analysis. As investigators combed through the house, they were struck by the absence of any signs of forced entry or struggle. This peculiar detail would prove to be the first of many puzzling aspects of the case. As news of the tragedy spread, theories began to circulate. Was this a case of mass murder, a cult-related incident, or something even more sinister? The lack of obvious external involvement led investigators to consider a possibility that seemed almost unthinkable. Could this have been a case of mass killing? The concept of ritualistic mass killing is not unheard of, but it's rare, especially involving an entire family across 3 generations. Investigators began to explore the possibility of shared psychosis, a condition where delusional beliefs are transmitted from one individual to others in close contact. This theory could potentially explain how an entire family might come to participate in such a drastic act. Yet the more they uncovered, the more questions arose. How could a family that seemed so well-adjusted and high-functioning harbor such extreme beliefs? And if this was indeed a case of mental delusion, why were there no warning signs visible to their friends, neighbors, or business associates? The investigation took an unexpected turn when officers discovered a series of diaries in the home. These unassuming notebooks, filled with handwritten entries spanning several years, would prove to be a crucial piece of the puzzle. However, their contents were so bizarre and unsettling that investigators initially hesitated to reveal them to the public. As forensic teams meticulously analyzed every inch of the house, they uncovered more peculiar details. The positioning of the bodies, the materials used for binding and blindfolding, and even the specific items found around the deceased, all seemed to point to a carefully planned and executed ritual. But what kind of ritual could lead an entire family to such a tragic end? The case quickly captured national attention, with media outlets scrambling to piece together the story of the Chundawat family's final days. Neighbors were interviewed, Security camera footage was scrutinized, and experts from various fields were consulted. Yet, despite the intense scrutiny, a clear motive remained elusive. As days turned into weeks, the investigation continued to uncover layers of complexity. The family's public persona of normalcy and success stood in stark contrast to the dark secrets hidden within their home. This dichotomy only fueled public fascination with the case, as people struggled to reconcile the image of a thriving family with the reality of their tragic end. The discovery of the diaries opened up new avenues of investigation, promising insights into the family's state of mind in the days and months leading up to the incident. However, deciphering the meaning behind the cryptic entries would prove to be a challenging task, requiring the expertise of psychologists, handwriting analysts, and cultural experts. The Chundawat family's story begins long before their tragic end in Burari. For 2 decades, they called the 3-story house in this bustling Delhi neighborhood home. Their roots traced back to Tohana, a small town in Haryana, but it was in Burari that they planted themselves firmly, growing both their family and their business. The family tree sprawled across 3 generations, each branch intertwining to create a complex web of relationships. At its base was Narayani Devi, the 80-year-old matriarch, whose weathered hands had guided the family through countless ups and downs. Her 2 sons, Bhuvnesh and Lalit, aged 50 and 45 respectively, formed the sturdy trunk of the family unit, along with their wives. From this core sprouted 5 grandchildren, ranging from the cusp of adulthood at 15 to the early stages of independence at 25. On the surface, the Chundawats embodied the image of a thriving, modern Indian family. Their grocery store and plywood business were well-known fixtures in the community, providing a steady income and a respectable social standing. Neighbors often saw family members bustling about, tending to customers with warm smiles and engaging in friendly chatter. They were like any other family in the neighborhood, recalled a long-time resident of Burari. Always polite, always willing to lend a hand. You'd see the younger ones helping out in the shop after school, and the elders would often be seen chatting with customers. They seemed so normal. This public facade of normalcy and success made the discovery of their fate all the more shocking. How could a family that appeared so well-adjusted harbor such dark secrets? The answer, it seemed, lay in the intricate dynamics that played out behind closed doors. As investigators began to peel back the layers of the Chundawat family history, a more complex picture emerged. The death of Lalit's father in 2007 marked a significant turning point. What initially appeared to be a period of mourning evolved into something far more profound and disturbing. Lalit, once described as outgoing and sociable, underwent a stark transformation following his father's passing. He became increasingly withdrawn, and those close to the family noticed a shift in his demeanor. But it wasn't until later that the true extent of this change would become apparent. Friends and extended family members, looking back, began to recall subtle signs that something was amiss. Occasional comments that seemed odd at the time now took on new significance. The family's gradual withdrawal from certain social circles, once attributed to busy schedules or changing interests, now appeared in a more sinister light. There were times when Lalit would say things that didn't quite make sense. A family friend shared hesitantly, "We thought maybe he was still grieving, or just going through a phase. Nobody could have imagined what was really going on." As the investigation progressed, it became clear that the Chundawat family had been harboring deep-seated traumas and secrets. The nature of these hidden burdens would prove to be more shocking than anyone could have anticipated. The family's ability to maintain their public image while navigating these internal struggles spoke to both their resilience and the power of shared delusions. The contrast between the family's public persona and their private reality raises unsettling questions about the nature of perception and the limits of understanding those closest to us. How well can we truly know our neighbors, our friends, or even our own family members? As investigators combed through the Chundawat family home, they stumbled upon a discovery that would turn the case on its head: a collection of 11 diaries hidden away in a drawer. These unassuming notebooks, filled with handwritten entries spanning several years, held the key to unraveling the mystery of the Burari deaths. The diaries were immediately seized as crucial evidence and subjected to rigorous forensic analysis. Handwriting experts were called in to determine who among the family members had penned the entries. Their findings were surprising. While the majority of the writing was attributed to 2 family members, Priyanka and Neetu, the content appeared to have been dictated by Lalit Chundawat, the younger of the 2 sons. As investigators pored over the pages, a chilling picture began to emerge. The diaries contained detailed instructions for what was described as a ritual of mass salvation. These weren't hastily scribbled notes or recent musings. They represented years of careful planning and indoctrination. One of the most disturbing entries detailed the final ritual. It directed family members to hang themselves in a formation resembling the roots of a banyan tree. This bizarre instruction was accompanied by the belief that this act would lead to salvation, guided by the spirit of the family's deceased patriarch. The meticulous nature of the planning was evident in the specificity of the instructions. A police official noted that the diaries even designated a person to stand guard while others hanged themselves, underscoring the ritualistic nature of the act. Other entries provided precise directions on the timing and conditions for the rituals, such as not cooking food and keeping phones on silent mode. Perhaps most shocking was the revelation that this wasn't the family's first attempt at such rituals. The diaries indicated that similar, less extreme practices had been occurring for years, gradually escalating in intensity. This progression raised disturbing questions about how the family had managed to keep these practices hidden from relatives, friends, and neighbors for so long. The content of the diaries painted a picture of a family caught in the grip of shared delusion. Led by Lalit Chundawat's claim that he was possessed by his deceased father's spirit. This belief system, developed and reinforced over years, had somehow overridden the rational thinking of 11 individuals, including young children and an elderly grandmother. Filmmaker Leena Yadav, who later created a documentary about the case, expressed the disbelief many felt upon learning these details. When the case was in the news, I refused to believe that children in the family as young as 12 and 13 could have agreed to be a part of this, she said. Her statement highlights the challenge of comprehending how such extreme beliefs could be normalized within a family unit. The diaries provided answers to many questions, but they also raised new ones. How had this shared delusion taken root so deeply? What factors had allowed it to flourish undetected for years? And, perhaps most importantly, how had the family maintained their outward appearance of normalcy while harboring such extreme, private beliefs? As news of the diary's contents spread, it sent shockwaves through the community and the nation. The contrast between the family's public persona and their private reality was stark and unsettling. It forced many to question how well they truly knew their neighbors, friends, or even their own family members. At the center of the Burari tragedy stood a figure whose influence would prove to be both profound and disturbing: Lalit Chundawat. The younger of the two sons, Lalit had undergone a dramatic transformation following his father's death in 2007. What began as a period of grief evolved into something far more sinister, reshaping the family's dynamics in ways that would ultimately lead to their tragic end. Lalit's story took a bizarre turn when he began claiming that he was possessed by the spirit of his deceased father. This wasn't a fleeting belief or a momentary lapse in judgment. Instead, it became the cornerstone of a new family ideology that would govern their lives for years to come. Lalit asserted that his father's spirit was guiding him, providing instructions and wisdom from beyond the grave. These claims might have been dismissed as the ravings of a grief-stricken son in most circumstances. However, within the Chundawat household, they took root and flourished. Lalit's words carried weight, and his influence over the family grew steadily. He began dictating the content of the mysterious diaries found in the home, outlining rituals and practices that he claimed would lead to the family's salvation. The power dynamics within the family shifted dramatically. Lalit, once simply one of two adult sons, now positioned himself as the conduit for their deceased patriarch's wishes. His word became law, his visions treated as prophecy. Even his elder brother, Bhuvnesh, traditionally respected as the head of the household in Indian culture, deferred to Lalit's supposed spiritual authority. This shift in family hierarchy had far-reaching consequences. Decisions both mundane and significant were now filtered through the lens of Lalit's supposed communications with the spirit world. From business matters to personal relationships, every aspect of family life became subject to his interpretation of their father's will. The extent of Lalit's influence became apparent in the family's willingness to participate in increasingly extreme rituals. As one family member noted in the diaries, everyone should think in one direction with more determination than last time. This chilling instruction highlights the pressure to conform to Lalit's beliefs, even as they became more outlandish and dangerous. Psychologists analyzing the case have suggested that the Burari deaths exemplify a phenomenon known as shared psychotic disorder. In this condition, a group of people, often in close proximity or with strong emotional ties, come to share the delusions of one individual. Lalit, with his claims of spiritual possession and his role as the family's self-appointed spiritual leader, became the focal point of this shared delusion. The family's compliance with Lalit's directives, even to the point of participating in their own deaths, raises troubling questions about the nature of influence and belief within family units. How did Lalit manage to override the self-preservation instincts of 10 other individuals, including young children and an elderly grandmother? The answer likely lies in a complex interplay of familial loyalty, cultural beliefs, and psychological manipulation. Lalit's own history of untreated trauma may have played a significant role in the development of his delusions. The sudden loss of his father, combined with possible pre-existing mental health issues, created a perfect storm of psychological vulnerability. In his fragile state, the idea of channeling his father's spirit may have provided comfort and a sense of continued connection to the deceased patriarch. As Lalit's influence grew, the family became increasingly isolated from outside perspectives that might have challenged their shared beliefs. Their gradual withdrawal from certain social circles, once attributed to busy schedules, now appears as a deliberate strategy to maintain the integrity of their shared delusion. This isolation further reinforced Lalit's authority, creating a closed system where alternative viewpoints were either dismissed or never presented. The tragic culmination of Lalit's influence was the final ritual that claimed the lives of all 11 family members. The diaries reveal that he had convinced the family that this extreme act would not result in death, but rather in salvation and spiritual elevation. The lack of struggle found during the autopsies suggests that even in their final moments, the family maintained their faith in Lalit's promises. The final diary entry, discovered in the Chundawat home, revealed the chilling details of a meticulously planned ritual that would lead to the deaths of 11 family members. This entry, believed to have been dictated by Lalit Chundawat, laid out a step-by-step process for what the family believed would be their path to salvation. The ritual was to begin at night, with the family gathering in the main room of their house. According to the diary, they were instructed to form a human chain, arranging themselves in a specific order that mimicked the roots of a banyan tree. This formation held deep symbolic meaning for the family, representing their connection to their deceased patriarch and their belief in his spiritual guidance. The diary provided explicit instructions for each family member's role in the ritual. It directed them to bind their hands and feet and to cover their eyes and mouths. One person was assigned the task of ensuring that the others followed through with the hanging, a chilling detail that speaks to the level of planning involved. Perhaps most disturbing was the diary's insistence that the ritual participants would not actually die. Instead, it promised that they would achieve something great through this act. The entry stated, "The human body is temporary, and one can overcome fear by covering their eyes and mouth." This belief in their own invincibility likely played a crucial role in convincing family members to participate in such an extreme act. The symbolism of the banyan tree formation was central to the family's shared delusion. In many Indian cultures, the banyan tree is considered sacred, representing eternal life and the connection between heaven and earth. By arranging themselves in this formation, the Chundawats may have believed they were creating a direct conduit to the spiritual realm, facilitating their deceased patriarch's ability to guide them to salvation. The diary emphasized the importance of following the ritual precisely, stating that only the zenith should be visible. This focus on exactness suggests a deep-seated belief that the ritual's success depended on perfect execution. It's a mindset that likely contributed to the family's willingness to go through with such an extreme act, as they may have feared that any deviation would jeopardize their spiritual goals. The lack of struggle found during the autopsies provides a haunting insight into the family's state of mind in their final moments. Medical examiners reported no signs of resistance or attempts to escape, indicating that each family member, from the youngest child to the elderly grandmother, willingly participated in the ritual. This disturbing detail raises profound questions about the power of shared delusions and the extremes to which belief can drive human behavior. The psychological state of the family members in their final moments is a subject of intense speculation and study. How could 11 individuals across 3 generations collectively suspend their survival instincts and embrace such a fatal act? The answer likely lies in a complex interplay of factors, including long-term psychological manipulation, the power of group dynamics, and the gradual erosion of individual critical thinking. The family's belief that they would not actually die, but instead achieve a higher spiritual state, may have played a crucial role in overcoming their natural fear of death. This conviction, reinforced over years through Lalit's supposed communications with their deceased patriarch, created a psychological state where the line between life and death became blurred. Moreover, the family's increasing isolation from outside influences likely contributed to the strengthening of their shared beliefs. Without external perspectives to challenge their ideas, the family's delusions were allowed to grow unchecked, creating an echo chamber of reinforcing thoughts and expectations. The willingness of even the youngest family members to participate in the ritual raises disturbing questions about the nature of influence within family units. How were children as young as 15 convinced to take part in such an extreme act? The answer may lie in the powerful combination of familial loyalty, respect for authority, and the gradual normalization of unusual beliefs and practices within the household. The Burari case revealed a chilling pattern of ritualistic behavior that had been building for years within the Chundawat household. The diaries discovered in the home painted a disturbing picture of a family caught in the grip of shared delusion, gradually escalating their practices over time. These diaries, spanning several years, indicated that the final, fatal ritual was not an isolated incident, but rather the culmination of a series of increasingly extreme practices. The family had been engaging in smaller-scale rituals for years, each one pushing the boundaries of their beliefs and commitment to their shared ideology. One of the most striking aspects of this case was the family's ability to keep these practices hidden from relatives, friends, and neighbors. On the surface, the Chundawats appeared to be a normal, well-adjusted family. They ran successful businesses, participated in community events, and maintained seemingly healthy relationships with those around them. Yet, behind closed doors, they were engaged in a secret world of rituals and supernatural beliefs. The family's gradual withdrawal from certain social circles, once attributed to busy schedules or changing interests, now appears in a more sinister light. This isolation played a crucial role in enabling their shared delusion to flourish unchallenged. Without regular exposure to outside perspectives, the family's beliefs became increasingly extreme and disconnected from reality. The escalation of the family's practices over time is particularly troubling. What may have started as harmless spiritual beliefs or coping mechanisms in the wake of the family patriarch's death in 2007 gradually morphed into something far more dangerous. The diaries reveal a progression from simple meditation or prayer-like activities to more elaborate and risky rituals. This gradual escalation likely played a key role in the family's continued participation. Each small step made the next one seem less extreme, creating a slippery slope that ultimately led to their tragic end. The family members may not have realized how far they had strayed from normal behavior until it was too late. The role of secrecy in enabling this tragedy cannot be overstated. The family's ability to compartmentalize their ritualistic practices from their public lives created a dangerous double existence. This secrecy not only prevented outside intervention, but also reinforced the family's beliefs. The act of keeping their practices hidden likely added to the sense that they were engaging in something special or sacred, further cementing their commitment to their shared delusion. Isolation, both self-imposed and as a result of their secret practices, further entrenched the family in their beliefs. As they withdrew from normal social interactions, they lost access to alternative viewpoints and reality checks that might have challenged their thinking. This isolation created an echo chamber effect, where their extreme ideas were constantly reinforced and amplified within the family unit. The case raises troubling questions about the nature of family dynamics and the power of shared beliefs. How did Lalit Chundawat, the younger son who claimed to be possessed by his deceased father's spirit, managed to exert such influence over the entire family. The diaries suggest that his word became law within the household, with other family members deferring to his supposed spiritual authority, even when it went against their own self-preservation instincts. The gradual nature of the family's descent into extreme beliefs also highlights the insidious way that delusions can take hold. It's unlikely that any family member would have agreed to participate in the final, fatal ritual if it had been proposed outright years earlier. Instead, their beliefs and practices evolved slowly over time, each small step making the next one seem more acceptable. This pattern of escalation and secrecy serves as a stark warning about the dangers of unchecked belief systems and the importance of maintaining connections with the wider world. It also raises questions about how society can better identify and intervene in situations where families or groups become isolated and begin to develop extreme beliefs. The discovery of the Burari deaths sent shockwaves through India, creating a media frenzy that dominated headlines for weeks. The nation struggled to comprehend how an entire family, seemingly well-adjusted and successful, could meet such a tragic end. As details of the case emerged, public fascination grew, fueled by a mix of horror, disbelief, and morbid curiosity. News outlets scrambled to piece together the story, interviewing neighbors, relatives, and anyone who had interacted with the Chundawat family. Security camera footage from nearby shops was scrutinized, and experts from various fields were consulted in an attempt to make sense of the incomprehensible. The case quickly became a topic of intense speculation and debate across the country. However, as is often the case with sensational news, the media's attention was fleeting. After the initial flurry of reports, the story began to fade from the headlines, leaving many questions unanswered and deeper issues unexplored. It was in this context that filmmaker Leena Yadav decided to take a closer look at the Burari case, driven by a desire to understand the complex factors that led to this tragedy. Yadav's documentary, House of Secrets: The Burari Deaths, aimed to go beyond the sensational headlines and explore the human story behind the incident. The filmmaker was deeply affected by the case, recognizing that it touched on fundamental aspects of family dynamics, mental health, and societal pressures in India. To create a comprehensive picture of the events leading up to the tragedy, Yadav and her team conducted an exhaustive investigation. They amassed over 400 hours of interviews, speaking with a wide range of individuals connected to the case. This included neighbors, family members, and professionals such as psychologists and journalists who had insights into the psychological and social aspects of the incident. Unlike the initial media coverage, which focused primarily on the shocking details of the deaths, Yadav's documentary took a different approach. She emphasized that her goal was to explore the why, rather than just the who, of the Burari case. This meant delving into the underlying issues that could lead a family to such an extreme act, examining the societal and psychological factors that might have contributed to their shared delusion. The process of creating the documentary took a significant emotional toll on Yadav and her team. As they immersed themselves in the details of the case and listened to countless hours of first-hand accounts, the weight of the tragedy became increasingly palpable. Yadav herself admitted, "Every single member of the team, including me, had nightmares at some point during the filming." This emotional impact extended beyond the documentary crew to the broader community. The Burari case forced many to confront uncomfortable truths about the nature of family relationships, mental health, and the potential for darkness lurking beneath seemingly normal facades. It raised unsettling questions about how well we truly know our neighbors, friends, or even our own family members. The documentary's approach highlighted the complexity of human nature and the societal pressures that can lead to tragic outcomes. By presenting a nuanced exploration of the case, it prompted discussions about mental health awareness, the importance of addressing hidden traumas within families, and the potential dangers of extreme belief systems. The public response to the documentary was mixed, but largely positive. Many viewers appreciated the in-depth analysis and the humanizing approach to the story. It provided a platform for broader conversations about mental health in India, a topic often stigmatized and overlooked. The documentary served as a catalyst for discussions about the need for better mental health resources and the importance of recognizing warning signs within families and communities. However, the documentary also faced criticism from some quarters. There were concerns about the ethics of profiting from such a tragic story, and questions about whether the extensive coverage might inspire copycat incidents. These criticisms highlighted the complex ethical considerations involved in documenting and discussing such sensitive topics. Despite these challenges, the impact of the Burari case and its subsequent documentation in Yadav's film continued to resonate long after the initial shock had faded. It served as a stark reminder of the hidden complexities within families and the potential consequences of unaddressed mental health issues. The Burari case serves as a stark reminder of the critical need for mental health awareness in our communities. As the shocking details of this family tragedy unfolded, it became clear that beneath the surface of normalcy lay deep-seated issues that had gone unaddressed for years. This case forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about the nature of family dynamics and the potential consequences of ignoring mental health concerns. In India, as in many parts of the world, there exists a pervasive stigma surrounding mental health issues. This societal attitude often prevents families from openly discussing their problems or seeking professional help. The Chundawat family's ability to maintain a facade of normalcy while harboring such extreme beliefs highlights the dangerous consequences of this silence. Leena Yadav, director of the documentary House of Secrets: The Burari Deaths, noted the pressure families face to maintain an image of perfection. She observed, "How can everyone have only good things to say about them? Weren't they humans?" This comment underscores the unrealistic expectations placed on families to always present a positive image to the outside world, even at the cost of addressing internal struggles. The Burari case also sheds light on the importance of recognizing and addressing hidden traumas within families. The death of the family patriarch in 2007 appears to have been a turning point for the Chundawats, particularly for Lalit. Instead of processing this loss in a healthy manner, it became the catalyst for a shared delusion that ultimately led to tragedy. This emphasizes the need for proper grief counseling and mental health support in the wake of significant life events. Moreover, the case highlights the potential dangers of extreme belief systems, especially when they develop and flourish in isolation. The Chundawat family's gradual withdrawal from certain social circles allowed their shared delusion to grow unchecked by outside perspectives. This serves as a warning about the importance of maintaining connections with the wider community and being open to diverse viewpoints. The documentary's approach to the Burari case encourages viewers to think critically about their own belief systems and family dynamics. By presenting a nuanced exploration of the tragedy, it prompts us to question how well we truly know those closest to us. It challenges us to consider what hidden struggles our friends, neighbors, or even family members might be facing behind closed doors. Yadav's statement that this documentary isn't necessarily about the case, it is about us, encapsulates the broader implications of the Burari tragedy. It invites viewers to reflect on their own lives, relationships, and the potential consequences of ignoring mental health issues or allowing extreme beliefs to go unchallenged. The case also underscores the need for better mental health resources and education, particularly in communities where such topics are often stigmatized. By bringing these issues to the forefront, the Burari case and its documentation serve as a catalyst for important conversations about mental health, family dynamics, and the societal pressures that can contribute to tragic outcomes. Furthermore, the Burari case highlights the complex interplay between cultural beliefs, family loyalty, and individual autonomy. In many cultures, including in India, there's a strong emphasis on family unity and respect for authority figures within the family. While these values can provide strength and support, they can also, in extreme cases, be manipulated to perpetuate harmful beliefs or practices. The tragedy prompts us to consider how we can foster family bonds while also maintaining healthy boundaries and individual critical thinking. It raises important questions about the balance between respecting cultural traditions and challenging potentially harmful beliefs. Yadav's hope that, if this series prompts even a single family to sit together and discuss their traumas, the purpose of the documentary will have been achieved, speaks to the potential positive impact of openly addressing these issues. By encouraging families to have difficult conversations and seek help when needed, we can work towards preventing similar tragedies in the future. The Burari case left an indelible mark on India's collective consciousness, sparking ongoing fascination and multiple media adaptations. Its legacy serves as a stark reminder of the complex interplay between mental health, family dynamics, and societal pressures. The tragedy underscores the critical need for open dialogue about mental health and the potential dangers of unchecked beliefs, especially within close-knit family units. It challenges us to look beyond surface appearances and consider the hidden struggles of those around us. The case also highlights the importance of maintaining connections with the wider community to prevent isolation and the reinforcement of harmful ideas. Ultimately, the Burari incident reveals the profound power of belief and the sometimes thin line between faith and delusion. It compels us to reflect on our own beliefs and relationships, urging vigilance and compassion in equal measure. If you'd like to hear more true crime stories from our Story Vault, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, click the link in description box to show your support and buy me a coffee.